all right. Welcome to the Eighth Note Sessions. I'm Devin Mullen.
And I'm Mike Shamil.
And tonight, we're joined by Allison Mitchell of Velvet Bethany. Dream rock, by their own description, I'd say pretty punky, maybe dream punk. Allison, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Very good. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, we're doing great.
I'm very good. So I wanted to talk with you about, your music and your story as an artist and a musician. For the folks at home who aren't familiar with Velvet Bethany, they are a wonderfully energetic group that really blends a bunch of different genres together, covering the gamut from sort of dream pop to rock to irreverent punk. They even have some like flashes of the Minutemen in them, if you're familiar. The lyrics are deceptively simple, of a great emotional depth, and suggest a much greater narrative than what's directly being spoken. And I kind of wanted to talk to Allison to get some insight onto what goes into the world of Velvet Bethany. So, for example, Allison, with a song like You're So Mean.
She's so mean?
Just like me. Yeah, she's so mean. She's so mean. What part of your life are you writing from, and what things are you writing to when you make a song?
That song specifically? What am I writing
Sure.
from? That one is not a song that I had a dream about, where all of my songs are mostly about dream bits. That was a real life song.
Like
So,
a moment that actually happened, like specifically.
yeah, she's so mean, just like me, because I can write a song about it, which gives me my power back.
And that's kind of what I mean. I wouldn't take that as a song about self-empowerment necessarily at the first listen, but there is this kind of like wiping of the slate clean with it. Yeah, she's so mean, but
Yeah, that
I'm
one's a lot
just
more.
as mean.
Well, that one's a lot more simple. That is like the simple story. Although I lied. I did speak of dreams in the song. I said sorry that I cursed at you in my dreams. Because I was in the studio, and at the end of it, I was like, wow, that was like therapy. Like you're like Doug White, he's like my therapist. Because at the end of it, I was listening back, and I'm just like, I raised my eyebrows a few times, and I'm like, did I really just say all that? When I hear it back, it's like different than when I'm saying it, because you don't hear yourself while you're speaking. I'm just like, wow,
And
I'm like kind
and
of,
with your songwriting process, you say that a lot of times you're sort of tapping into into dreams, but to extend it even beyond that, into some kind of infinity that's informed by a poetic, spiritual, and metaphysical engagement with life. When did your process of songwriting and musicianship really start?
I started writing songs when I was 17, um, because I was a very emotional teenager and I was boy crazy. But then at the same time, my home life, I was like numb to it. So I would write about the process of freezing and thawing because I would experience like these extreme emotions. I'd go to school, like school was my escape. Extreme emotions for boys or my friends or something, or not knowing how to cope with relationships when I was 14. And then I go home and it was like, oh, disturbing, weird world of like a sitcom. that I was just like had to shut down. So it was like I had to live half my life escaping or shutting down from the emotions. And then they would
You
just
describe
explode when I got to school.
you described it as a kind of freezing and thawing, and we were talking about this difficulty of writing about things in cycles in our pre-interview conversation. And one of your bandmates made a joke that the Beatles only wrote about love for their first 6 albums, and you kind of were making peace about, maybe that's what you got to write about until it's all written out.
Yeah, can I write another love song? Have I written too many?
Only when you feel
That-
like you've written too many, I mean, because at the end of the
I'm still in
day,
love. So I can still keep writing about it as long as I'm in love.
right.
That's right. That I've gotten in love with kombucha recently, not really, but yeah, it's just falling.
In love with what?
It's just having kombucha. I don't know. They're
Kombucha.
sure, why not? It's kind of like parenting. You're taking care of a living thing in your fridge.
Wait, do you have like a
fun.
SCOBY at home, or are you making kombucha now, or are you just drinking?
No, I'm just doing a bit.
Oh, okay. For a second, I was like, wow, this like new undiscovered side of Devin.
The kombucha drinking. Something we also talked about in our pre-interview conversation was that you're fairly well traveled as well. You've been over to Japan a couple times. Been at the base of Mount Fuji, or at least approximately in the base of Mount Fuji. And that you're a practitioner of a Japanese sect of Buddhism. Has that at all been an influence in your songwriting?
Yeah, I started Velvet Bethany after becoming a Buddhist because I just was channeling songs. They would just happen. They would be like, it was a very troubling period. So I would see the true nature of my situations and I would pass out and have a dream, maybe. And like after chanting. And I would write that, like the song Hedonist. I dreamed that your eyes turned black. I dreamed that your hair followed back. Me and this person I was with had become Buddhists together, and they turned out to be like a Satanist. And they would say like Satanism and Buddhism were the same thing. They believed in the same things, but it wasn't, because they wanted me to, they said my soul had to be as black as theirs.
It's a pretty chilling statement.
Yeah, and I believed them. And then I took it back.
I mean-
so I sold my soul to the devil, and then I offered it to the Buddhism. And or to the universe, and I was like, if you find this and you can find a purpose for me, give it to me.
So the interesting thing here is, like, when you elevate things to that level of souls in the universe, and devils and gods and these higher powers above our comprehension and our true understanding, a lot of times it can be very difficult to more directly communicate with people, because you're touching on something that's so much larger than any single person. Do you find that turning to music as a means of expression and a way of showing yourself to the world is often the more valid route to take, more effective route to take?
Do I find that what is a more valid route to take?
Artistic expression. Is it a good way of translating these sort of self-evident universal truths
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's really the only way to. You can't explain. There is no language for the unseen or the ethereal. What is behind the veil? You can only like see that maybe in picture form or feel it in emotional form, which you can convey through art and music or by connecting with nature or poetry, maybe poetry, because that is music too. But when you blend the music with the poetry, with the language, you give it the emotion, you give it the feeling.
Well,
Because the word,
to
sorry.
to completely enter our philosophy zone, I mean, the emotion of it is what makes it human. And I think you're right. There is an inherent quality of poetry in all of existence. I mean, you just look at the processes of the natural world, whether it's water flowing or the fractals in a honeycomb, and there's an organization and structure to things, which you can't deny. What I love about this entire conversation, though, is all this very heavy philosophy and this very deep rooted engagement with life. It sometimes manifests with lyrics like, "And they're going to send you home with a cookie in your mouth." And I find that contrast so delicious to consider as an artistic offering. Why is it for the heaviness of what's going on behind the curtain, if we're talking about looking beyond the veil and everything, that the lyrics come out in this way that is so, as I said at the start of the interview, deceptively simple? Why does it all kind of funnel down to that?
Because if I told you everything that happened in the dream, you'd be like, what? Like my boyfriend every day, he's just like, I can't do this right now. I wasn't there. I don't know. You're not there. So I just, if I'm like, the guy took me up the mountain and he looked like a little guy, little alien in a business suit, and then we all got on this bus and everyone had like a date on their head. Like,
Well, at that point, you'd be writing folk music because you'd be singing a format that would have the room for larger amounts of detail, but that would require a complete genre change to accommodate all that information and imagery. I mean, you do a very good job though taking the most essential parts of those stories and
yeah, the
and
soul
putting
of
those
it.
in the song.
Let me give you the soul of it because I already talk way too much and try to explain myself in real life, and like overthink everything. So
I'm guilty of that too. I tend to talk way too much tech, and when I see people's eyes glazing over as I'm like over explaining something, I realized I've gone a little far and I've lost them.
yeah, I see that too.
On
It's like,
the on the subject of music and poetry, I agree with you that they're very close and in a lot of ways related. I feel like poetry is often lyrics that don't necessarily have the music written for them yet. Do you find yourself also sharing poetry in some of your live performances, or is that more so a personal thing?
I like journal, and I feel like I just really started writing poetry. But if I look back, I've probably been writing poetry the whole time if I'm writing songs. But I'll pick pieces out of my journal entries, and because all the wordy stuff doesn't make sense, and I put it, I organize it and make it more concise. How do I really teach the lesson to myself? How do I really like stop myself from, I compile it and what is it? I alchemicalize it. and I boil it down and I concentrate it. You know, you write it all out, and then I understand.
Can be a very difficult, can be a very difficult pedagogy, being both student and teacher, but definitely an exercise worthy of undertaking. To get back on like what Velvet Bethany is up to for a second, what shows we got coming up?
This Saturday at the Ninth Ward, we're playing with Emily Wolf.
Emily Wolf, okay. Now, did you just play on a bill with Starjuice?
Yeah, I think we played this past Saturday. No, it was last Wednesday. With Starjuice.
That's a cool pairing, by the way. I've seen Starjuice play before, and while I've never seen both your acts play together, I think that's a very good fit.
Oh man, we used to live in the same apartment building. Sid is my sister's best friend.
Ah,
We all
that's
lived
awesome.
the last couple of years.
So you already had that established way of kind of vibing through each other's music and knowing where,
Oh yeah,
things
we're
would fit.
both in band practice all the time. And then one time they were making a music video downstairs, and I'm like, "What are you guys doing? Can I help you?" And like I put out their tape, like a demo tape for them last year, just so they could have like something to sell at shows. Now
That's
they got
awesome.
They got CDs and tapes.
You also had a release earlier this year, yeah?
Did I have a release? Oh
Rock
yeah,
and Roll
Bliss-
Vacation. Or was
Well,
that
that's
last
old.
year? Oh, that's an old one. Okay, never mind. I'm out of date. I did get your discography off Bandcamp, but I just kind of threw it all on my phone and listened to it without paying attention as to like what songs are part of what release.
Well, thank you for buying that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I never know who people are. I'm just like, oh, somebody got that.
Bandcamp is one of my favorite things. It's really given me a way of getting my hands on a lot of really, really good music, especially after like cool record stores. We've got a couple in town, thankfully, again. But there was a weird period of time where like record theater was gone and there was like no cool place to find good music. And we're starting to get that back again, but like Bandcamp has like been there to fill in that gap. You mentioned tapes earlier. Are you actually recording to cassette and releasing cassettes as well?
I'm really slow to put any of my own music on a medium because I can't decide. Like, I kind of just want to make like a volume 1 Velvet Bethany. Like, whatever's on Bandcamp or the internet, I'm like, I don't know. I don't like the album covers. I just kind of want to consolidate it all and have like a really nice picture eventually, and have the money to do that like on an LP, but I don't. So, because I like to buy kayaks and weird guitars, so I don't have the money to put music on an LP. And like bikes, I'm a bike mechanic, so I'm like, I just bought a bike frame from Japan, and I'm just like, I don't need this, but I do. 'Cause it's
But you know what? With the kayak, you can busk for all those people with the fancy boats on the Black Rock Canal. That's a real market.
Yo, you should actually try that because last year during like lockdown, I was walking around and without getting on a long tangent about me, recording videos of just me and my acoustic guitar places, and I played down at Red Jacket Park, right by the water there, and people just started kayaking and boating up to listen. And I was
Oh
like,
my
I should have been
God.
doing this for you. Like, I should have done this years ago. So there's a market for people who just want to listen to you play music in the water, because they'll paddle up and for them the discovery of someone playing music on the riverbank is like mind blowing.
Well, that's what kayaking is all about. Like, you can discover little nooks and crannies that you wouldn't be able to get to on foot. Like, I went to Central Terminal over the summer, and I've never been there. I've been in lots of buildings as like a teenager. Lots of buildings that have now been mostly renovated and are used for the arts or whatever they use them for, restaurants. But they used to be empty. But I never went to Central Terminal, and that was like the go-to, I think, for a lot of people. It was okay. There's a lot of glass, a lot of broken glass, a lot of dicks, a lot of pictures of penises on the graffiti down the wall.
That is like the classic graffiti.
I think I'm over it.
A shining example of our heritage. And yes, I think to that point, we should absolutely normalize naval busking. I'm just going to be stuck on that point. Please, I want to see buskers on boats daily, serenading people on boats, hopefully at boat parades.
I visited Park for the first time on a bike ride, but I saw it at night, and I was like, oh, you can see it all, like the whole scene of the train bridges and the not Central Terminal, it's Concrete Central. That's what I'm talking about. And Cargill's, the grain silos, Silo City. It's like the horizon of Silo City.
That's a beautiful area. I'm glad that some of that is still around for us to kind of like explore and enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And I've only gotten, half a dozen cases of tetanus walking those grounds. It's a beautiful thing. All right. So I think we're just about at time with our interview here. Allison, my last question for you. What's in the works for Velvet Bethany? What do we, other than the show on Saturday, are we just continuing with the process of writing and gigging out when gigs are available? Or do we have a specific thing to look forward to?
I don't have any shows planned after November. There's one at Hotel Dalmatia, November 27th, Saturday. It's like Thanksgiving weekend with On the Cinder, Over and Out. I can't remember who else. I think Hotel Dalmatia is in Black Rock.
It's in Old Town Tonawanda, just outside of Black Rock and Riverside.
Okay, interesting. I knew it was over there somewhere.
Yeah.
But, like, I've been recording music all year, and I don't know what it's going to look like yet. Like, I showed you that collage I made. I don't know if it's going to go with that one. I think I'm going to branch off and do two separate things. Like, maybe do an album of Velvet Bethany and a little side project.
Can you show that collage to our viewers, or is that still secret?
Oh, that's secret.
Oh, it's secret. Oh, sorry, guys.
Oh,
You're gonna have
we
to
got
wait.
to see it.
So there will definitely be like a record, like a 7-inch. As soon as I can get, gotta find my stems next week. Gotta find the masters. Just like short thing, like think 5 songs.
That sounds super cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be different. It's like more expansive. It's not punk at all. I mean, my friend said it sounded kind of like Riot Girl, but I was like, I don't know. This song is like really cheesy. It's like very open, and I call the song Opening. The song is like, I can't even say. Like, I wrote it about a person, and they like came to the show, and I just like played the wrong notes the whole time. And I'm like, I'm not ready to play this song. It's like too big. It's like, because when I write the song, it's gonna make something happen. So I can't write songs about negative things unless I'm transmuting the negativity. Every time I write a song, it happens. So I'm just like, I'm not ready for this.
Too soon, wait.
But I had to force myself to write it. I felt wrong just writing it. I'm like, it's okay to have a friend. Just have your friend, Allison. Just keep your friend.
I'm so tempted to go off into a tangent about Coptic faith and the ancient Egyptians and how they didn't like to write stuff down because it was a manifestation of things in the reality and yada da da da.
I like feel that way because I noticed it happening and I'm just like, oh shit, I gotta be careful what I write. We're either gonna make an apple pie, we're gonna take a bike ride. Okay, that sounds like good stuff.
An apple pie with eyes flew into my window today. Yeah, not good stuff.
But who couldn't, who wouldn't be interested in apple pie and bicycles? I mean, honestly, that sounds like a good time anyways. So that sounds like a good thing to write about and to, make happen.
Mm-hmm. Gotta keep it simple. Keep the desires simple.
Well, beautiful. I think that's actually literally the perfect tagline to end the interview on. Keep the desires simple. Don't overcomplexify your life. Observe the English language. Allison says that it is way too complex for what needs to be said. Japanese folks, they only got one way of greeting. We have, what's shaking bacon? How we doing? What's up? What's the sitch? How's the weather up there? An overabundance of phrases to communicate the same thing, so folks, keep the desires simple. And with that, I'm Devin Mullen.
I'm Mike Shamil.
And this has been the Eighth Note Sessions. Allison, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.